if you have this sort of like, here's what I want for life and here's the goals that I want to get, you're saying, put up high goals. And I'm totally with you because everybody told me that that woman didn't exist. Everybody told me that woman doesn't exist. The woman doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Guess what? Thank God I'm married to her. So she does exist very much so.
Mic
Um,
drop.
but the question is how do we get there? How do we get to
Yeah.
this ideal life? We have this picture, we have this idea. Yes, we're causing leeways, which again, we're going to get back to in a moment. But in a practical sense, how do I, instead of sitting on a couch and just visualizing things, but how do I actually make it into action? What is your opinion?
So the first thing that I had to do for me was, and I talked about this a lot when I first got onto LinkedIn and like first started kind of deconstructing my life, as it were, and rebuilding it into what it is now, is that understanding what values and ideals and perspectives I had and kind of listing those out, right? But then
Mhm.
also understanding which of those I put there, which of those other people put there, other societies, religion,
Oh, I love
etc.,
that. Hmm.
and then understanding which ones I still wanted, and
Mm.
then taking away the ones that I didn't want. So if society says that I have to be, I have to weigh 120 pounds and whatever, right? I don't know what else
Right.
society says. I stop listening. But if society says I have that, and that's a ideal that I
Mhm.
have in my brain, and I write that down, and I really look at it and go, does that align with like
Mm.
me? Do I want that standard, or can I let that one go? And so that was a really huge, and I say was, it's a constant practice of, okay, cool. Well, I need to be able to afford this type of car. And as I have that thought, I'm really quick about bringing it back and going, okay, now what's bringing that? Is that a standard I put in? Is that a standard someone else
Mm.
put in? And do I want
Right.
that there? So really that process has kind of been my step by step to getting me from, where I was to where I'm going. And I think ideal can be misleading because it sounds like a destination that you get and then you stay. But the
Mhm.
reality is it's just a constant construction zone of, whatever's going on. So
Sure.
that was my most practical like piece of advice that I use daily on so many things is, why are you chasing that? Do you want to chase that, or is someone else telling you to chase that, or do you even like that? Like, why do you even, your clothes wouldn't fit you if you weighed 120 pounds. Like, you'd have to buy new jeans. We don't want that. We don't want
Yeah, I love the reflection part. I love how you're doing that reflection part, because the funny thing is that this was a two-part question. So the second part is like what kind of person do you have to be in order to achieve your ideal life? So you kind of put the two answers into one.
it.
I
Yeah.
love how you sat down, you reflected, you wrote down, here are ideals, right? And then you and
Hmm.
then you challenge your ideals.
Yeah.
You challenge them. This being 120 pounds, who's talking, what voice am I hearing in my head? Who
Hmm.
is it? Just the media, or Hollywood, or whatever? Or is it really Chelsea just
Yeah.
wants to be healthy, and Chelsea thinks that
And it
120
can
pounds
be
is healthy. I don't know,
it
like.
can be very surprising. There are things that, and it's a muscle that I've built over the past 2 years now, right? So I can do it pretty quickly on my own. But when I first started doing it, my coach was doing it
Mhm.
with me. And she helped me kind of write those things down and then walk me through the process. But now there are times when something pops up, like when I got a different car from the one that I had. And I was like, okay, I want one that has this, 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 and this. And then I was like, do I want those things? I mean, that's
Right.
probably society. I probably don't need those things. And I was like, no, I want those things. And so, I get those. So there are times when I think that's probably just society telling me that, but no, I
Sure.
actually do want that. And so I keep it, even though it
Right.
aligns with society. So it's not all about like
Mm.
rebellion and anarchy, because there are
Sure,
things you're going
sure.
to choose to do that do align with society. But the
Mm.
biggest question is, does it align with you? And I think what type of person do you need to be is a type of person that understands, what do you look like when you're aligned? Because you can't align
Mm.
anything else to you if
Wow.
you don't understand like your own alignment. And I think that's probably the type of person that you would have to be, or that I've had to be, to kind of go through this process.
Love that.
Oh,
There is so much
technology.
great stuff there. I love it. Especially the those three questions that you posed and that you do pose to yourself. It's interesting because it reminded me of like my dating experience where, again, I came with a list and I actually had the matchmaker say, rewrite your list, because I wrote a list that was very comical and funny because that's what I wanted. They said, no, nobody's going to accept this. Rewrite it to our standards. So that's what I did. I still wrote it to what I wanted, but based on what would be accepted. And then what ended up happening is because I ended up dating 4 people plus my wife, and with each of those 4 people, something else left my list, and I learned something from it about myself. And then when I met my wife, when I was no longer looking for that list, I was looking for somebody who would bring out that emotion and that feeling and share experiences with. That ended up being Shayna, who is now my wife, and she was everything on that list that I had previously gotten rid of. So that's kind of the, it's burning and bringing.
I think what you said there is important in that you can't, I'm not trying to like demonize lists, right? I mean, you have to start somewhere. And the beauty of that is you can go, yeah, that was on my list, but I experienced that. I don't want to keep it. You thought that this would have that emotion or that you would like that emotion. And then you actually don't want that emotion. And so you take it away. And so that constant ability to be flexible and just understand that you are a human with changing ideals and perspectives every day, and you're supposed to be, is a huge piece of it.